Welcome to Finance This, Property That. My name's Dion Fernandez, and this podcast is for property enthusiasts, time-poor professionals, self-employed borrowers, and strategic investors looking for residential or commercial property who want more than just a low interest rate. They want a strategy and a team around them. Each week, I'll share strategies, structures, and lending moves that actually grow wealth, not just get you the loan. And also, I will help you surround yourself with information from professionals in their field. If you're here to build smart, not slow, you're in the right place. My vision is to empower financial legacies for generations. I am a mortgage planner and finance strategist, and I work with doctors, developers, business owners, and high-income earners to build serious property portfolios. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Finance This, Property That. Again, it's a panel episode. This is probably one of my favorite types of episodes to do because we get a little bit of different perspective from the Emerge team. A couple of things we want to cover off today. Obviously, Luke's still not here, but massive congratulations to him and Caitlin on their first child.
That's it.
Yes.
Very exciting.
Yes.
Haven't seen him much, which is quite typical of a new parent. But
but
we've all been there.
But when we did, it was like, oh my God, lack of sleep, and he's on caffeine. So I think he's doing it right.
Yeah, that's right. We've all
He was
been there.
looking pretty good.
Yep.
He's doing all right.
Well, he's wearing a jumper, so that was always a little weird when he doesn't normally wear jumpers or jackets. But yeah, so congratulations, Luke and Caitlin. Also, today we wanted to cover off on a couple of things. End of financial year's just happened. We're going to celebrate some success. Adam's going to go through a little bit of Emerge success that we've just had.
Yep.
Hit another milestone. And today we thought we'd cover a really hot topic around a type of lending called bridging. We're seeing it more and more, and we've actually got Adam who does a lot of bridging, and then we've got a VIP client who's actually going through the process now. So couldn't think of a better topic, right?
Very hot. Yeah.
I'll try and be honest with that.
So welcome, Adam and Simon. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate it. I know we're missing
mate.
Luke, but yeah, we'll deal with that.
It's all right.
Thanks for having us, mate.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Good to see you again.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for coming along. Look, let's celebrate some success. Big wins. I'm going to let you, Adam, tell us about Emerge's big success.
Oh, I mean, I don't really, we always talk numbers that much, but yeah, we've had a really good year in business for 2025. That's just finished, which is exciting. We've had some new team members join, which is cool. Obviously, the growth of the business has been really exciting, which just means we've been able to help more families and people, build wealth through property. So, we had a sort of 50-60% growth in sort of the amount of clients that we were able to assist, which is great. It's been awesome to see you guys, you're now, yourself and Luca, 18, 24 months in the business. So it's really great to see you guys hitting your straps. And Simon's a couple of years as a broker, so it's great to see him, growing his outreach and his network as well. So, but yeah, it's been good. It's a great environment. We all love what we do, and I think that really works well. We work really well together, bouncing off each other, and the excitement and the energy and the, ambitiousness, it flows through the business and through the team. And I think clients can feel that, right? They want to work with a business or a team that's going places and that's passionate about what they do and passionate about property. So yeah, that's the exciting thing. And
I guess with so many brokers and brokerages out there, I think the key difference is when you're working with a solo practitioner versus a team, it's the amount of people that you can help and the impact that you have, but also the bandwidth.
Yep.
Is a lot greater when there's a team. I talk about it all the time. You're working with a bank, you're getting one policy, one type of product. You're working with a solo practitioner. You are getting the options, but your bandwidth's limited because they're limited by the capacity they can give you. But when you're working with a team, you've got just so much more. And it's not just the broking team. We've got the processing team. Taylor's come on board now. We've got our offshore team, which we've grown again.
Yep.
And then our internal credit team as well. which we've grown.
And we
So-
can't do what we do without them, right?
No.
And I guess the more that we help, the more clients that we help, the better we get at it, and the better our back office team gets at it. You know, Michelle in our processing team, she had a bit of a win last week. She had 5 one-touch approvals in one day, which is phenomenal. So it just shows, I guess, the depth of knowledge and experience that we've got in the team. And a one-touch approval, I think there was 1 or 2 for each of us that she assisted with, and the client's stoked because you're ringing them, and the client's almost thinking that, oh, what are we missing, or what do we need?
What do I get now?
Yeah, and you're sort of ringing saying, no, mate, it's all done. Like, we're approved. Like, it's a great outcome. And it just means that anxiousness from the client is now dissipated, and they can just move on with enjoying the process and knowing that they've got the property. So, you know, it's great to get those wins through our team and, you know, have that coming across to our clients, because it's a good experience, right? It's and the speed that we can get, you know, applications in from a paperwork perspective. There's a lot of background compliance that our guys are doing and that we have to do as brokers, right? Above and beyond what a bank has to do. So, you know, the speed that we can get applications submitted and the relationships that we've got with the lenders just means we're getting such quick turnaround times at the moment. So we've had some really good success wins, right? For clients.
Yeah, and that comes back to our Google reviews as well. What are we up to now?
Yeah, I think we're at 354 5-star Google reviews, which is great.
That's
On the way
huge.
to
eh?
Cracked the
400.
350. So I was going to bring the balloons in, but we wouldn't have seen each other. But no, it's a really good testament to the team. And again, like, I love seeing the reviews talking about, you know, some of the processing team that are really helping as well. So yeah, it's great to see. And look, we're getting business off the back of it, right? Because our business is a social proof business, right? We can sit here and do podcasts and tell people that we know what we're doing, but, you know, it's great for people to be able to jump online and see that 354 other people think that we're doing a pretty good job as well.
354 advertisements.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think
it.
the other really cool thing, Adam, is, you know, we haven't really had much turnover as well with the team. So everyone's kind of been there for a few years now, and, you know, some even longer. And like, everyone knows what we're doing. It's a well-oiled machine now.
Yep.
Even the guys, you know, the guys in the back office as well.
Yep.
Our VAs are doing an amazing job. Like, they've all been here for a few years now.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
all kind of working
Yep.
together really well. That helps us give those results to clients, which is awesome.
Which
Yeah,
just
that's
means it's a good place to work, and that's a testament to the environment that you've created as well.
Thanks, mate. I love it. I'm
The
staying
cafe
around.
helps too.
I'm staying around.
The cafe helps.
Definitely helps. I think Luke's enjoying the cafe at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him drink that much coffee.
Yeah.
I think I've seen him drink, you know, he's a one a day kind of guy. What's he
Yeah,
up
yeah.
to? Like, at least 2 to 3 now.
Yeah. That's definitely
Give it
handy.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
no, it's a good space. Brisbane's
Yeah.
a positive market. I mean, most of
Yeah.
our business is Southeast Queensland, right? So really strong market. You know, good to see the rates have a few movements this year, and, you know, potentially a bit more. You know, we've seen some lender policies free up. You know, borrowing capacity gets a bit easier. So yeah, it's a good time to be buying, and I think we're starting to see that, a lot of investors back in the market, a lot of upgraders, and, you know, things like that. I think it'll be a strong. Brisbane's just got lots of headwinds for the next, you know, 5 to 10 years, right?
And just also, you know, with what's happening, the Olympics, the infrastructure that's going in.
Yep.
You know, I think there was an article that just came out. Brisbane is now a $1 million median city.
Yeah.
So crack that. That's a pretty big number. You know, again, we haven't got there exponentially like the Sydneys and Melbournes. We've just, I think Brisbane's that one that just steadily, just a steady state, and that shows that there's, you know, because it's steady, I feel that there's more stability in this market. It's not as volatile.
Yep.
And if you do take a hit, it's not as it's not that absolute trough.
Well, we've also seen a lot of investors pouring out of Victoria, right? Like, they've had a lot of red tape around, you know, land taxes and holding costs and, you know, deposit requirements and extra fees that the government's imposing for vacant properties and things. So I think probably a lot of those investors are saying, let's get out of Victoria and come up to Queensland. So
The vacant
Live
property.
too.
yeah, true.
Yeah, you know, coffee's almost on par as well, I think. So,
Yeah, that's
yes,
right.
and- but you know, the vacancy on those units and things like that, that's a government caused problem because they let them
Yep.
build the units.
But look, we're going to start getting some, you know, we've already seen it, like affordability issues, especially for first home buyers, right? If the average house price in Brisbane is $1 million, that makes it quite unachievable for a lot of first home buyers. So, you know, that bottom end of the market, or that first home buyer, traditionally that first home buyer market's sub $1 million. It's going to be very competitive space, you know, people trying to vie for that, you know, entry point.
Yep.
So I think I read about that $1 million one on this social influencer that I follow.
Yeah.
Simon Tessman.
Yeah. I was getting there. I was getting there.
That's where you get all your news. And,
Yeah,
I was getting there. He's
we just bring him on to get 1 million views, don't we?
yeah. Well,
So,
I expect 2 million off one
that's it.
reel.
Yeah, correct.
So,
listenership.
yeah, that's it.
Just get,
Thanks for coming today, actually.
did you got it signed off by a social media manager?
It's all signed off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good,
it's all
good.
legit.
How have you got, man? Like, because again, you know, we've Adam's just touched base on how you've grown and you've been there for a while. Like, really, I would say this is your first full. You've just completed 1 full year self-employed as well.
Yep.
Really took the plunge.
That's it. Yeah.
What's happened in your year?
Oh, it's been good. It's been awesome. Yeah, I think I've been keen to jump in and get stuck in for a while, and yeah, obviously wanted to learn the ropes and start from the ground up. And yeah, it's been a really good year. Helped more clients than ever, and it's been awesome to see how many people can get into the property market and reach their property goals. And yeah, it's just great to be working with them, and it really helps with the team. So yeah, it's been an awesome year.
Yeah, big changes for you coming up. We'll talk about that in a second. So that's huge. Yeah, I think working in an environment that's promoting, helping, like that's what we do. We don't, all the clients, we help where we can. We help the clients that want to be helped as well. We've come in leaps and bounds. I think everyone's just grown exponentially. We've helped, I think if we settled, personally, I settled about 115 loans for clients last year across a variety of different people or different objectives. We're delving into more of that commercial aspect side of things.
And I think that's a really cool thing about it now is that we are all working together, right? Like we were just talking before we jumped on air about a client that you might be an assist of ours, and we sent another builder over to yesterday, and then Simon and I were working on one the other day. Simon was trying to get something approved, and I had a couple of contacts that we could utilise to sort of pull some strings in a bank to try and get the right outcome for our client. So it doesn't really matter which broker someone's working with. We're all working as a team because we want to get that client to their goal. Yeah, and it's all the stuff we're talking about. I like talking about it because this is the stuff. If you're a client or you're working with a broker, you don't actually see what a broker does in the background. All you've seen is, they want to collect me information. And oh my God, you're asking for bank statements. And I think you did a 2 million view thing on that, didn't you? The bank statements and all that sort of stuff. But that's all you see is they're asking, and then you don't see what actually goes. And then you're approved. Or this is your strategy. We're going to go here, sign here, sign here. I think that's what they're trained, but they don't really know what goes on to creating. People just think we fill out a few forms and bang it into a bank and it gets approved. It's a little bit more than that.
Well, that there are some brokers that actually do that. They just hit and hope, no research. But obviously that's where we're different. We research it. We make sure it fits policy. Policy over rate is definitely what we do because policy will determine the rate you get anyway. And just strategize, make sure it's the right fit, do the right thing, best interest duties. It's not about, this lender's just going to do it in 2 days. I'm just going to put it there and hope it gets approved. What a waste of everyone's time.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Double the work. But anyway, so, like we just touched base now on, affordability, moving into the housing market. Brisbane's now $1 million median house price. I'd like to really touch base. We've been talking about it quite a bit on a product called bridging. And I think we've touched really just on a high level talked about it. But I know you're doing a lot.
I love the bridging stuff. Yeah. It's really good solutions-based lending, right? And I guess it stems from when they're buying their first place, it's almost a little bit easier, right? Because they're obviously renting somewhere, or maybe they're staying with family or boarding, or they, have just got the cash and they're ready to go. So it's, deposit, purchase, good to go. The next one is always a little bit trickier, or the ones, once you've got a property, the next one is always a bit trickier because for a lot of Australians, most of their wealth is tied up in the equity in their property, right? So then how do you get that equity out to buy the next one? And what's the timing of that? And I guess it comes down to 2 scenarios. You either sell first and then buy, or you try and buy first and then sell. And then within those 2 scenarios, you can either actually sell and go under contract and then try and buy. But I guess the risk is how long are you out of the market for, and will something actually pop up that's suitable for you? And what do you do in the interim? Do you go and rent? Do you rent back? Do you live with family? So, there's probably a little bit more logistics around that. Yep. Do you buy first and then sell? Well, yes, that's possible. But, there's only really 3 ways of doing it. You either got to line up the settlement dates, which means you're taking a risk either on your purchase or your sale, and you're effectively going unconditional without selling. You either do a subject to sale, which we're seeing in the current climate. Not many sellers are accepting a subject to sale, especially when there's lots of buyers around.
I mean, you take $10,000 less just to get the unconditional contract.
Correct, exactly.
Like, why would
so
you
we're not seeing a lot of subject to sale. Mate, we're seeing a bit in regional locations, but not so much in metropolitan.
Yeah, because the market's not like the
It's
market
not as hot.
is allowing you to do that. It's dictating that. Yeah.
And then the third option in that is the bridging, which I'm just such an advocate for, which is that you actually just stay put where you are until you find something. And then when you find something, you put in a really clean offer, not subject to sale. You're able to secure that new property and still be in the market with both properties. And then you just sell your current property and use the funds from the sale to pay down the loan that you got for the purchase. So, lots of benefits. You're in the market. You can stay where you are until you've found something ideal. I mean, we've got some clients that look for years to find the right property, right? You don't want to be selling and then missing out on that growth on your current property for 2 years while you're still looking. There's only one move, so that's really helpful. You can also do renos to the place you're going to, or renos for the one you're selling in between. So it gives you a lot of flexibility around maximising sale price or maximising lifestyle value in the new property. There's lots of benefits there.
God, I hate moving.
It's very painful.
I haven't done it in 12. I didn't do it in 12 years till we moved into the rental, but God, what a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's a
Sorry,
nightmare.
excuse
You
the
don't wanna do that
French.
more than what you
Especially
have to,
with
right?
kids, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, think about the stuff. If you've been in one place for, let's say, 10 years, think about the stuff you've accumulated. Well, you're going to go through that in a sec, aren't you?
Yeah,
More
we've
stuff than ever.
got a VIP bridging client
Yeah,
at the
live,
moment that
live.
is going through it. We're just about to open a merge GC.
That's it. Yeah. Sea change.
Tell us about that, mate.
Yeah. So what's going on with you, man? Like, what's the big change this financial year?
Yeah, well, we're having a bit of a sea change. So, heading down the coast with the family. We've always wanted to do it. It's always been on the goals board. So, we think now's a good time more than ever. So, move the business down there, expand a little bit, which would be cool. Already getting a few good connections down there. So, very exciting. Yeah, it's like I said, it's just something we've always wanted to do. So, I think it'd be nice to do it. And we've obviously got a place already. So, that market down there is super competitive as well, like up here in Brisbane, as we know. So, there was no way we were going to get a subject to sale of the line for our place. Like exactly what Adam was talking about.
Especially if you're trying to go off market.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Man. So that's going to be good because, Porter's not of the age where you have to be too worried about getting him out of school and things like that. I think if you're going to do it now. And then you can always come back.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we were talking about, doing the whole rent vesting thing in, up there it probably doesn't make as much sense, or down there it doesn't make as much sense. But if you do decide to, you buy the property up there, and if you did decide to keep this one, so are you keeping, or what are you doing with the one here?
Yeah, so we'll end up selling that.
Yeah. Okay.
But like the yields are a lot higher on the Gold Coast, so it's it's a little bit harder to rent down there versus up here in Brisbane. You just don't get as much bang for your buck.
So if you came back to Brisbane, you'd rent in Brisbane, and then you'd rent vest back in Brisbane, basically.
Yeah, that's an option we could look at for sure. Yeah, just because of the yields, the way they are versus Brisbane and Gold Coast.
Yeah.
But so the reason why we're doing it is just so we can be competitive with our offers, which is one of the biggest advantages, and we don't have to worry about our place just yet.
Cool.
But it's really interesting on the bridging thing because there's so many misconceptions that it's so risky, and we've always been told don't do bridging. Like, I get that
You get 12 months to sell your property. I'm like, if it takes 12 months to sell your property in this current market, you're with the wrong agent. Go find someone else. Like, honestly.
And I think, the misconceptions are, well, it's too expensive. It's
17%.
very risky. Yeah.
Who told you? Did someone actually say 17%?
I think it's 17% for the bridging.
Oh,
I mean, it's just interest only. Owner-occupied rates, right? So, it's higher than your principal and interest, but it's not that much higher, right? But then the cost of moving, like you mop that up in no time.
Well, what about the cost of not getting into the market at the time you want to get into the market? If it's going to save you, it's the opportunity cost, which you can't. It's hard to calculate sometimes, isn't it? So, talk us through your scenario. Like, what's going on? So, you're doing.
So we're we've obviously got our PPR at the moment, so we want to buy a new one down the Gold Coast. And so, we're just moving down there.
But it means you don't have to move till you've bagged something, right?
Yeah,
you
that's
just
right,
stay put, keep getting the growth of your place, and then when the perfect one pops up down the coast, you move, right?
That's it. We're buying and selling in the same market.
That's it.
So that's the other major benefit. As opposed to being competitive on the offers, But we're protected though, right? Like we're not too concerned about what our place is going to sell for because the bank's gone out there, they've done a full valuation on it. It's not just a data, desktop val. It's someone's properly gone through our place, given us the valuation, and then that's what the bank uses for the sale price. And they also put a buffer on it, so we're protected if the market does miraculously start going down in Brisbane. We're protected.
And you couldn't. And you've got enough equity in that place to cover any shortfall because you already know what your borrowing power is at the back end of it, and you already know that you can purchase based on this equity here. You can purchase for this here, and usually it'll be only 80%. So it's pretty easy to work out what your max is. If your property's worth this and you're buying for this, what's 80%? 80% less what debt's on it. That's basically that's what the bank's going to lend you. And you just got to be able to service that.
You do have two mortgages for a short period of time, right? But of the ones that we've done this year, I think the average time duration of bridging, so from the settlement of one they're purchasing to the settlement of the one they're selling, it's between 2 weeks and 7 weeks. So like really, it's not that big a deal, right? It's not like people are paying two mortgages for 6-12 months. Like it's a very short time frame, especially if you're in a really desirable suburb. And
some lenders you don't even like, it's already interest is capitalized on the during bridging debt, and you're only paying the post bridging debt. So the lenders that I've used for bridging, pretty good. We've got some great lenders out there that support bridging and some that don't. And obviously we don't go to the ones that don't support bridging. But there's a lender there that will look at your during bridging debt, interest covered the during bridging debt, and then the post bridging debt. This is how much we'll lend you. Oh, this is the residual. That's what you got to pay. They park X amount for, let's say, 12 months worth of interest cover. But if you sell in a month,
correct,
they're not going to. It comes back anyway, and then you can reduce the debt the other side.
And I think that's the other misconception is people are saying, well, I can't afford to pay two mortgages. And not many people can, right? You need a lot of cash flow for it. But as long as you've got a bit of saving or you've got the equity, some banks, will add the interest and capitalise it so no repayments are required. You're still able to make repayments if you want, but you don't have to make repayments on double mortgages. No. And others, they just want to see, all right, I've got some cash aside to cover the two mortgages for a short period of time. And it is only a short time, right? It's not a big deal. The other thing I say to clients is the bridging is almost the worst case, right? The bridging secures the purchase. But we've had clients that might get a 60 or 90-day settlement on the purchase. And in that time, they've actually already sold their place and settled it, or they line the settlement dates up. So we're able to then just roll that bridging loan back into a standard home loan if they sell before or sell simultaneously, right? So it just ends up being a standard loan.
Or you just do a one
correct.
Bridge. It's like nothing. If they've signed docs ready to go, great. You settle your purchase on Monday. Settle your sale on Wednesday.
Correct.
Done. And that's just to get everything smooth and you just move on. But we've got clients that if you could afford both properties, we're not bridging anyway. So we
correct.
Just do
they're just holding as investment as well, right? And look,
Yeah.
it just depends on their circumstances and whether they want to retain the asset. Or I think, in your case, you feel that market's probably hit its peak. And so there's probably no point keeping it. So why not deploy that capital in an emerging market that's got more potential for growth? So, I think the thing that we all do with our clients is looking at their portfolios and saying, is this asset still performing? And then if not, well, where can you redeploy that capital to get a better return? It's almost like that opportunity cost too, right? So,
and what have you found, like going through the process yourself, what have you found hard, easy, or different to what you actually thought it would be?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty biased because I obviously help clients do it all the time. But my broker's been, he's done pretty good.
He's done all right.
But from the experience, like sitting on the other side of the fence and being the client, it's still a smooth process. There's not too much dissimilar to what we'd be doing with a standard purchase or even a refinance for that matter. It's just making sure that probably the core differences is you just got to understand what the bridging implications are, and either having the cash on hand or knowing what that's going to be at settlement coming out, the bridging interest, and you've just got to make sure you've got the valuation all lined up as well. So really understanding what your parameters are. So they're probably like the biggest benefits basically, but it's not too different to the experience we go through and take our clients through.
So he's getting another 5-star review. We're going to go 355.
Probably.
Just to preference that, like a lot of listeners might not know, but as a broker, you can't always do your own loans, right? There's a conflict of interest there. So yeah, with some lenders, you're not allowed to do your own loan as a broker. So I guess that's the other benefit of having a few in the team is that we can all work on each other's stuff and help them through the process.
Yeah. Because you just want to touch base again. You talked about you may not never need to use the actual bridging facility. You could roll it back.
Yep.
Didn't you actually have a client that actually happened to? You had it set up.
Yep.
Then as bridging, then they go no, then they went yes, and they went. And
yeah.
What happened with those clients?
Yeah, like we just amended it. So we set up as a pre-approval for bridging. So like any other pre-approval, the client's ready to go. They can put in a really sharp offer on their purchase. They got a long settlement, which was great. They got their place on the market. It sold. So we rolled it back because they didn't need bridging. The buyer for that property then pulled out. And then they got another buyer, but then they had to bridge for a week. So we rolled it back to bridging. So I guess the thing is it is quite flexible in that regard. And look, the cost of bridging for 1 week is practically negligible, right?
Yeah.
If it means that the other thing I say to clients is, because you've got 6 to 12 months to sell, you probably don't want to take 12 months, but you do have some time. You're not under these constraints where you have to settle on the same day in 60 days. I mean, you don't have to take the first offer that rolls in, right? If someone lowballs you for your sale, you don't have to take it because you've committed elsewhere. You are able to run a full sales campaign and see what buyers are out there. Yeah. You're not really having to make it a desperate or fire sale. So people think bridging's expensive, but then the alternative is you have to fire sale your place as soon as you found something. So you can easily drop 50, 60, 100 grand on a fire sale, but then people think bridging's expensive.
Yeah.
It's actually, the expensive part is not getting the sale price that you want,
not
right?
getting the right price for the market that you're living,
correct,
that you're currently in. And I think it's always a good idea if you can move, clean the house out, then stage it.
Yep.
And I think that's a lot of the real estate agents would prefer that anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
They can then stage the property for potentially a better outcome.
Correct. Yep.
What's your selling strategy going to be?
Well, like for us, for example, just on that, most clients I've helped out with bridging, they've got the agent locked in, they've got the photos ready to go, like their property is just ready to kind of pull the trigger as soon as they have found something and gone under contract. So it does help alleviate any sort of bridging if there needs to be some at all.
Yep.
So, and that's what we'll be doing. We haven't really fine-tuned the strategy just yet for our place, for example. But we've got the option, right? Like we can do an auction, we could do just a expression of interest, whatever it might be. We've just got that option there. So, but the same thing, we've got our agent ready to go.
Yeah, you're not really going to put the property on the market till you've actually found something anyway. And are you looking at maybe putting it on once you've gone unconditional, or you're confident enough just to go, yeah, cool, I already know this deal's going to get approved.
I'll have to chat to my broker,
Yeah.
but no.
Good
So
to go,
like
mate.
once we've confident the unconditional's coming through, then we'll
just stick it on the market,
straight
because it
on.
still takes time, even though you've got all the photos and you've got the ad. Like it's still, I think there's a strategy for when they like to put out like properties on the market, but hopefully you've got a great agent that's already got his whole list of back list of clients going, hey, we could probably get this off market. Here's a property that's potentially coming on. Buyers agents have probably tried to get in. But I don't think in the location your property is being sold the way you guys have done.
That's correct.
I reckon you'd be unlucky not to get an offer in the first, actually even before it goes on the market.
Yeah.
I just had
I
a
mean,
couple
that's
of
the hope.
a couple of doctors I did a bridging loan for, and they just didn't want to do open homes while they were there. They got a couple of young kids. They're saying we can't keep the place clean even when the cleaners have been or whatever. Once we've cleaned it, this looks like a bomb's hit it a day afterwards. So they did the bridging so they could move into the new place, get it all cleaned up and just have it ready to go, and effectively giving the agent free reign. You can bring people in whenever you want. If they want to go in at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, go for it. It's clean and ready to be viewed by a buyer instead of ringing and then having to race around and clean the place for a buyer that maybe never eventuates.
Yeah.
So
I didn't have that when I tried to rent my property out.
Yeah.
I just said to the agent, I said, "Oh, looks like a bomb site." She goes, "Nah, we want it authentic as possible." I go, "Oh, I guess that's the difference between renting a place and, I go, well, it's my place, so we are trying to keep it clean." But yeah,
and look,
you're
the
right.
rental crisis that we're going through in Brisbane, that's part of the reason why I think bridging is we're getting more inquiries, because the old days, you'd sell, you'd go and rent if you hadn't found something, and then you'd buy. But I mean, try getting a rental these days. Like, it's really tricky, right? So it's not like if you do sell quicker than you think, you can just pick up a rental straight away that's going to be ideal for your location and work and family situation, and then keep looking. Like, a lot of people are having to move into, 1 or 2 bedroom units in the middle because there's no family homes available to rent, right? Or there's so much competition for family homes to rent.
You know how, like, you're trying to buy a property and you're trying to put conditions on the purchase. It's just like you're trying to sell a property, and because you've got nowhere else to go, or you're trying to sell it before you got somewhere else to go, now you're trying to put conditions on the person to buy your property. Oh, I need to live here for X amount till I find a property and rent it back and blah. If they're not a renter, or if they're not an investor and they're buying it to live in, are you really going to get top dollar?
Yeah, that's it. It's not ideal.
Your buy pool, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
So why? It goes both ways. I don't think we talk about that enough. We talk about, oh, well, we want to make an offer and buy something.
Yeah.
Well, you want to sell it as well, and then there's the selling strategies and the buying strategies as well. And I think it all comes back down to have a conversation early. And as you said, Simon, for bridging, you need to know where we're going to go for bridging, right? So if we've got 2 lenders, you need to get valuations on your property from both lenders, so you've got the flexibility, and hopefully it's with 2 different valuers. That way you can hedge your bets either way. And then you can strategize, okay, well, based on these valuations, this is what your maximum borrowing, this is where you can go and purchase. Or this is the max. And you've got this deposit, great. If you want to purchase for more, you're going to need to tip in more. So that's where you can give them the options, because the market's just moving so much. You're seeing a lot of properties on the market with no values.
Yeah, that's it. And look, we've got a new funder on our panel that specialises in bridging products, or a bridging product. And, it opens up a lot of opportunities for clients. So, a lot of those downsizer clients. So, like, I know Simon's just worked with an older guy to help him downsize. And I've just had an older lady that's looking to downsize from the family home. They're not currently working, right? So they don't have an income that we can prove, serviceability, but they still want to, they still want to stay put until they've bought. So even a scenario where there might not be any debt at the back end of the bridging, the downsizing or whatnot, this new funder can actually facilitate that. I've also just had a client who's a builder. They've just bought a vacant block of land. So traditionally, some of the other bridging lenders, they're not interested in blocks of land, right? So, there's lots of different ones, people moving into retirement homes, or, I've had one where a client was selling 2 or 3 properties and trying to, they had 2 or 3 smaller investment properties and trying to buy the family home. So some of our funders can actually take multiple securities and multiple sales. And then, as those properties sell, they just pay down the bridging loan, right? And the big thing is that a lot of the lenders will base the borrowing capacity on the loan at the end of the transaction. So once you've bought and sold. So as long as that we can prove to the bank that you can cover that loan, in the interim, it's either covered with the capitalised interest or a bit of cash set aside. But, it makes it a lot easier to get it to work for a client.
Yeah. And also there are some banks that won't even do bridging unless you're an existing client with them as well. So this is why it's really important to have a chat and understand what the options are before you start.
Well, it's about
planning.
the bank's policy too,
Correct.
right? Like, I had a mate from school that rang me and he had spoken to his bank and they could only get to 1.2 based on his bank with bridging, but we were able to get them to 1.6. So, in a market that's quite competitive, they didn't probably want to spend 1.6. They maybe want to spend 1.4, but they couldn't do that with their existing bank, but we could easily get it done with another lender. So it just shows the value of speaking to a broker, getting some options, looking at all the different ways that, we look at all the ways that the banks do the bridging and how that maximizes your end result.
Yeah. And they're 2 different markets, the
Correct.
1.2 versus the 1.6.
Oh, yeah. Yep, that's it.
Massive difference in location, quality, sometimes depending on where you're going. But you're playing in 2 different markets and you're playing with more confidence.
Correct.
To go.
Well, you're getting a more premium asset.
Yeah.
You're probably getting something that's more renovated, so you don't have to do as much work, which we know is quite expensive at the time. There's not as much competition, a higher you get. So, there's lots of different benefits. They were hoping to get into a particular school catchment and things, and sometimes there's a bit of a premium for those.
Tough.
So
Yeah, you pay a little bit. So how have they found a place yet?
They haven't found a place yet, but at least they've got the option to go up to that amount if need be.
Yep. I actually had one of my guests on the podcast just reach out yesterday and say, oh, hey, because we ran a bridging scenario for her and she didn't get the first one. Just messaged me yesterday going, oh, thank you for setting up, because we already done the val. We already know where we're going.
Yep.
We just need her to find a property. And yeah, she just messaged me going, oh, well, it's 300K less that she's found. Because I said, oh, you can borrow up to here. We've got 300K less. She goes, oh, I've got 21-day finance. I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
This is a done deal. As long as you've still got as long as you're still working, we're good. So
and look, the bridging doesn't work for everyone, right? It's based on equity. There's lots of different factors, but I guess having a chat to us, we can give clients the options. And some clients come to us that they might not have had as much growth or might not have held the property as long, so the equity position is not there. So we might recommend, hey, we actually can't do bridging. There's not because effectively the bridging is using equity from your existing property to use as the deposit for the new one. So you've got to have sufficient equity in there, especially if you're upgrading. You need quite a bit of equity in there, right?
It's easier when you're downgrading.
Yeah, that's it.
Because you're not. Yeah, but it's the upgrading that's the upgrading part.
So sometimes we might say, look, we're not able to do bridging, but here's some other strategies around selling first or buying or subject to sale. We're even seeing subject to buy now. Yep. So they're getting their place on the market, finding a buyer. That buyer might be willing to wait around for a month or two while they start looking, and then when they find something, they then initiate the contract. Or I know you had a couple that were setting up agreements to go under contract at certain dates. So we're seeing a little bit of that. So there's quite a bit of trickery happening around contract dates and how to get it to work, because most people are moving to another property, right?
Yeah. And also it's using the people on your team at your best disposal. So you've got your broker setting up your finance. You've got a buyer's agent. We were talking about that. You've got a buyer's agent looking for you, and you've already got your real estate agent here. So within the three or four of you, you're already talking.
That's it. Yeah, and you're all covered off then, and it's just a matter of as soon as you do find that property, you can pull the trigger.
Yeah, it's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when.
Yeah, exactly.
And you've just lined it up, and it's. Do you feel less stressed that you've got it all?
Yeah, definitely.
Lined up. And you're not rushing it?
Yeah, because the hardest part is in the current market finding a property.
Yeah, that's right.
Everything's lined up. We've got all our ducks, in a row now. So it's just a matter of finding somewhere. So, and as soon as we do find a place, we know we've got it all, lined up from a finance perspective.
And obviously, buying the new one, because it is competitive, you need to go in with a really strong purchase offer. So, going in with shorter finance clauses or no finance clauses or, no subject to sale. I mean, the seller of what you end up buying, they will have no idea that you guys are doing bridging, right? You don't even need to tell them because it's got, as long as it's a strong offer, who cares, right? But we're sort of beavering away in the background, like a duck, underwater, getting it sorted.
Yep.
But then the seller's none the wiser. So it just looks like a standard offer to them. So that's what you want. You want it to stand out amongst any other offers.
Yeah. I think, because I've just signed a contract on a property. You guys didn't know that.
Yeah.
Just actually literally signed it over the weekend.
Oh, well done.
And, the strategy that Chris used was let's just lowball it, really crappy terms. And then basically they've just come back and gone, you do this, do this, this and this. So we just did that, that and that. Because I already obviously sorted the finance out. It was like, it's just go. So terms do matter.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they don't know how I'm financing it. They don't know the
exactly.
structure of my finance. Well, they do because it's on the contract. But, it's just a matter of putting it your best foot forward.
Yeah,
so hopefully you
exactly.
should hear about it later on today.
Yeah, cool.
Because it all got submitted up yesterday. Fingers crossed. That's an episode. For
It's not bridging, mate, so we're not talking
It's
about
not bridging. I know. It's not. No. I don't want to sell any property.
Don't talk about normal purchasing while we're talking about bridging.
But boy, the terms make the terms determine whether you win a property or not. Because, like we're saying, if you're making it subject to sale, you've got the greatest terms, but subject to sale is on there.
Yeah, correct. I feel like part of our job is like a property coach, right, for a lot of people. Like, of course, we get the finance sorted, but it's coaching and guiding people through the terms and the offers and looking at places and what should I put on and what's the vals, the RP datas and whatnot. So that ends up being part of our role too, right?
We obviously do it every day see a lot of transactions and what's working and what's not, and how often do clients buy and sell.
Yeah.
And also then guiding them to the right people to speak to, conveyancers, build and pest. It's that bigger it's that bigger team to make it less stressful knowing that you've got that whole team behind you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm really excited for you, man. Like I really hope you get
Be
something.
good, yeah.
If you sign a contract after August 1, you'll be up for, the new contract, all the seller disclosures and things like that. So that's coming up on a
Just a
on
good
podcast.
excuse to go down the coast a bit more, isn't it?
That's it.
Visit the
Is that gonna be-
Emerge GC.
We can all go have lunch at what's that fancy place down there? With the lobster rolls.
What, rickshaws?
That's it.
yeah.
That's it. We've got to book 6 months in advance, but we could go down there. Not plugging that place, but we could. It is a good excuse. You could take the jet ski down.
That's true. I could do.
Yeah, just park it at Simon's.
That's it.
Free parking.
Gonna have some
Get a
parking.
jetty.
Isn't that where you're buying? You're buying on the canal, aren't you?
Of course.
You're self-employed now. You get whatever you want. Nah, it's all good, guys.
it's exciting,
Thanks for coming along and sharing your knowledge and sharing some of your wins. As always, the information on this podcast is very general in nature. Doesn't take into consideration your personal circumstances. And if you want to know more about your personal circumstances, come and have a chat to one of us. We're pretty easy to find. Jump on the Emerge website, emergefinance.com.au. Where's your Instagram page, Simon?
Simon.mortgagebroker.
Adam? Don't have an Instagram. On LinkedIn. Adam's on
Emerge
LinkedIn.
Finance. At Emerge Finance.
You can find me on Dion Finance Specialist on LinkedIn, Dion Fernandez. And also this podcast has got its own website, financespropertythat.com.au. Luke and the team have done a pretty fantastic job on getting that up and running. All the previous episodes are there with the videos. So you can see all our pretty faces or how much we've changed over the last years. And I think this will be, by the time this one's released, we would have released over 50 episodes.
Yeah, well done,
that's
mate.
going to be really
That's
cool.
awesome. Great accolade.
Yep. And I'm loving these panel episodes. Hopefully now, when you're on the Gold Coast, you'll still be able to come up.
Dial in.
Yep.
Yeah, you dial in on a Teams meeting. But
So far away.
we'll have to be a bit more organised and just lock you in early 4 weeks in advance and
Yeah.
get you in there.
Awesome, mate. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming along and see you all on the next episode.
Cheers, mate.